something very profound is happening in the way in which we modern people process information. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Marshall McLuhan, but McLuhan argued that an equally profound transition occurred with the introduction of print. Print is not simply writing that's easy to read and reproduce. Print is an entirely different creature than anything that had been produced before. It has qualities that no other medium has. Specifically, its linearity, its uniformity, its interchangeability. And what I mean by that is that every A, every capital A, looks like every other capital A. They are interchangeable. When a friend of yours writes you a note, you look at it. That's the precondition to reading it. When you open a book, you immediately read it. You don't look at it at all. Very few people puzzle over how the A is sitting there on the page with that white back. No, we just read. And the difference between looking and reading is very great. McLuhan called it the contrast between a manuscript culture, which is ear-oriented, and an eye-oriented visual culture. Well, now what's happening to us is the rise of the image. The image is in the ascendant. Ever since the invention of photography, let's say, in the middle 19th century, followed by color photography, followed by color lithography, followed by moving pictures, followed by television, followed by the internet, VRs, and all the rest of it. Something is happening. Our culture is forcing our visual education. And I think one of the problems with education is that we are trying to use a print-created institution to educate electronically biased human beings. And it's created a kind of a speed bump of illiteracy. One of the things that is put against your generation, you Generation Xers here, is that you're not literary. You're not a literary culture. But and it's true, don't deny it. None of you can quote Milton. But I also think it's a temporary thing. Your children will not be like you. Your children will be fully visually literate. They will have assimilated this new medium and operate under its aegis, while you are in a transition phase. And so the kind of dumbing down of culture that has had to occur as we go from a fully literate culture to a fully electronic culture is, I think, transitional. I mean, everybody says, people learn everything from TV. Kids know every star, every show, every plot, and say, why do they know that junk when they can't memorize the sequence of U.S. presidents? Well, make a good enough TV show about it, and they probably will. Not that I'm a fan of TV, but I am a fan of the visual image, and I think TV betrays it to some degree. HD TV may correct that, but it gives psychedelics an interesting role because they are such stimulants to the visual imagination. It's almost like they lead us deeper in this cultural direction that we have great appetite for. And now, with CD-ROMs and multimedia and websites and all that, we just can't wait to show each other stuff. Everybody's building a website. Everybody wants to invite you over to see their latest visual creation. And I think that language itself is headed in this direction, that our language is literally becoming more colorful, more sparkling, more engaging, and it's because it's becoming more visual. And eventually it may be an entirely visual exercise. The rise of icons is an interesting example of this. But now, wherever you go in the world, if you will push yourself just a little bit, you can understand what's going on because signage is so iconographic. It doesn't matter whether you're in Germany or France or Argentina or where you are. The signage is in an international language of visible symbols that unite us all. You see, the thing is, the word is ambiguous to a far greater degree than the image. And so when we communicate in words, we communicate incompletely. If we communicate in images, it's much closer to fulfilling the intent of communication, which is to erase the boundaries between the messenger and the message is being sent to. The thing that McLuhan was trying to say was that every medium, be it print, he even treated the electric light as a medium. Every medium has a hidden agenda which the users of the medium are not aware of until it's too late. For instance, in his discussion of the automobile, it was invented to convey people from place to place. In practical terms, what it was a bedroom away from home. And a whole generation of people discovered sexuality much earlier than they would have because of the automobile. That wasn't its intent, but that was its effect. Similarly, McLuhan says you could never have the concept of the citizen if it was not preceded by the invention of movable type, because the citizen is an interchangeable social unit the way a letter is an interchangeable unit in typography. Also, the linearity of Western thought is a product of the fact that when we communicate in print, we arrange our thoughts in lines. That isn't done in some languages, but in ours it is. Well, then we impute that quality of our communication method to reality itself. My hope is that through holography and virtual reality and HD TV and a deep awareness of McLuhan, that we could create what I would call a biasless media. In other words, it would be a media that would do to you exactly what reality does to you, instead of pushing you in some other direction. And it would be then a return to the archaic. And it might be technically very sophisticated, but the final impression must be, I am not looking at a screen, I am not turning the pages of a book, I am not listening to earphones, I am really having this experience and it is really real. I've never heard the VR prophet talk about it as a biasless form of media, but I think that's what we're headed for. Well, when media becomes biasless, media becomes reality.